Hello, algebra students. This is a video. These are notes from what we were supposed to do in class today. So it's nothing new that you are going to be introduced to. It's just reviewing what we talked about the last 2 days because I know there was a lot of properties that came at you very fast. I'm going to go over each property and I'm just going to do a couple examples from each, and then I'm going to put some all together. Hopefully it won't take too long, but we'll see how it goes. So starting with the product of powers property. So this, you guys, is when I multiply like bases. When I multiply like bases, I add my exponents. Again, when I multiply like bases, I add my exponents. Okay. So looking at some examples. Number 1, x squared times x to the 4th. They both have a base of x, so I'm going to rewrite my one base, which is x, and I'm just going to add the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. Second one, here I just add the exponents of my like bases. So I'm going to rewrite the first base, x. 4 plus 4 gives me 8. Second base is y. There's an invisible 1 whenever it's a plain letter by itself for an exponent. Now I add my expos. 1 plus 5 is 6. Finally, this one. Guys, when I have two numbers that don't have any exponents out with them, I can just multiply. This is a multiplication problem. So negative 2 times 4 will give me negative 8. Now, my first base is x. Okay, looking at the two things we're multiplying, we got x to the 4th, x to the 1st. Add your exponents, we get x to the 5th. Next one is y. We have a y to the 1st, y to the 3rd, add them, y to the 4th, and the z is a loner. Just write the z down, can't forget about it. So this is the product of powers. We're multiplying like bases. Okay, a little bit out of order from the way we learned it, but that's okay. Next one is power to a power. I always say power to a power. When I'm raising a power up to another power, okay, I'm going to multiply the exponents. The other thing that we do in this one is kind of distribute when necessary, and I'll show you what I mean in a moment. First example, we got x squared raised to the 4th. So we're just going to multiply my exponents. So I rewrite the base, and I'm going to do 2 times 4, which is 8. And we're done. This is the distributing thing I was talking about for number 2. Okay? This whole thing, 2m squared n, is being cubed. So we're multiplying 2m squared n by itself 3 times. So we actually, I like to call it distributing. We actually are going to raise each part to the 3rd. Okay, so we get 2 to the 3rd. That's the first one. M squared to the 3rd, we multiply the exponents. 2 times 3 will give me m to the 6th. And finally, we get n to the 3rd. I could simplify this a little bit more. 2 cubed is actually 8. If you can do the numerical exponent, then do it. If it's a huge number, if it was like 25 to the 8th, then forget it. But if it's something small like 2 to the 3rd, you can use your calculator, you can do that. Final answer. And finally, this one. Guys, whenever I square a negative number, it comes out positive. Negative 3 times negative 3 equals positive 9. Keep that in mind, but let's go ahead, distribute that 2 to everything. So we got negative 3, use parentheses here, we're going to square that. We got x, 2 times 2 is 4, and y, 3 times 2 is 6. Let's simplify this. Negative 3, that quantity squared is positive 9. X to the 4th, y to the 6th. Okay, so those are the first two properties. Let's move on to the next. Next property is fraction to a power. We talked about this on Wednesday. And this is when we're just raising an entire fraction up to a power. It's kind of like the distributing thing that we just talked about. So we distribute that 3 to the top, but it also is going to go to the bottom. We're raising the top, the numerator, to the 3rd, and we're going to raise the denominator to the 3rd. excuse me, so we got x squared cubed. Multiply your exponents. On the bottom, y cubed, okay? That 3, that cubed, goes to the top and the bottom. Same idea here. Guys, whenever I have a negative, I like to write it like, I like to rewrite it. So that just goes to the top, because otherwise it kind of confuses me sometimes. Oops, that's a 3. So then I'm going to, again, this 3 goes to everything, including the number out in front of x. So I'm going to have negative 3 cubed, x cubed over 2 cubed. And since these numbers are small, we can simplify it. That's 3 cubed is 27. So we get negative 27 x cubed over 2 cubed, which is 8. Again, that's just because these numbers are small enough. And finally, I'm going to put the negative with the top, negative x to the 5th, over 2y squared, all squared. All right, guys, the squared goes to the top, it goes to the bottom, to the 2, and to the y squared. Okay, so we got negative x to the 10th, which whenever I raise a negative number to an even number, it comes out positive. I'm not going to be too picky on that, guys, but in general, this would end up being positive because I'm raising it to, again, an even number. Anyhow, that's x to the 10th on top. We multiply our exponents on the bottom. We have 2 squared, y to the 4th, and then we can simplify that just one last time. We got x to the 10th over 4 y to the 4th. Okay, so now let's talk about quotient of powers. This is fraction subtraction. Fraction subtraction. So we subtract our exponents here. And we only do this with like bases. Because up here, for example, the x and the y are not like bases, so I don't have to do any fraction subtraction. But down here, it's going to be a different story. Like in number 1, those are both n's. Okay, so when we subtract, we get 7 minus 2, which is just m to the 5th. And you could do it over 1. I just like to do m to the 5th. Subtract your exponents. Number 2, look at the numbers, because you want to simplify those numbers. 9 over 18 is 1/2. That's how we're going to start this problem. Next one, x's. We got 4 minus the invisible 1. So that leaves me to the 3rd. Okay, it stays on top because the bigger exponent's on top. Next one, same idea. 2 minus 1 is 1, so we get y to the 1st. So my final answer is just x cubed y over 2. You could have the 1 in front of the x, but you don't have to. Okay, guys, let's simplify. 21 over 7 is 3, and there's a negative, so we're going to put the negative 3 here. Let's go with m. We got 5 minus 4, which is m to the 1st, which if it's to the 1st, you don't have to write the little 1. You could, you don't have to. I don't like to, so I'm not going to. 2 minus 1 for the n's is also 1. This is our final answer right here. Nothing on the bottom. You could put it over 1 if you prefer. All right, so that's, I think we have one more property, and then we're going to put it all together. Last property is just the 0 power property. My favorite one. Nice and easy, right? Oh, we also got the negative one, though, which I know you guys just love. Anything to the 0 is just 1. So no matter what, this is all, that's the problem we just did. You don't have to simplify inside first. You can see that it's all raised to the 0. Answer is just 1. Okay, guys. Technically, everything is over 1. Now, we cannot have negative exponents. It is not allowed. So I have to rewrite this. To make the negative exponent positive, we can move it to the bottom of a fraction. So this final answer, the 1 is going to go on top because there's nothing left once we move it. The x squared goes down to the bottom, and that turns my exponent positive. Same one, next one. Hey guys, important thing here. The 3 is not being raised to the -5. Just the m is. So the only thing that moves is the m. The 3 stays on top. The m to the 5th goes to the bottom. Now, what if the negative exponent's on the bottom? Same idea. Move it up. You can't move it down more. Just move it up. So now we have 4m to the 3rd over 6, and I actually can reduce the 4 and the 6. So that's going to be 2m cubed over 3 as my final answer. Just moving it around. So the part that everyone starts to kind of freak out about, and there's no reason to, is when we put it all together. Guys, go one property at a time. Here, in number 1, I'm seeing that I'm multiplying like bases, but also I have a negative exponent. So let's start with the negative exponent and go from there. This is going to be -2 over m squared. Okay? Negative exponent, you got to move it down. Times 3m to the 1st. Oops. All right, so now, technically this is like over 1. So now I'm just going to multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. -2 times 3 is -6m over m squared. Not quite done, because I can reduce the m's. Now, I like to do fraction subtraction here. If I did 1 minus 2, I get -1. The trick I use is this. I still subtract the bigger number minus the smaller number, but I leave the answer wherever the bigger number is. So here, 2 minus 1 is 1, but the bigger exponent was on the bottom. So that means it stays on the bottom. That's your answer. It's up to you how you do this one. I'm going to show you the way I would do it. Distribute the -3 out to everything. All right, guys. We got 4 to the -3rd. X to the -6. I multiply my bases. On the bottom, I have y. Negative times negative is +6. Okay? So now, these negative exponents got to go down. Got to move them downtown. Okay, so on the bottom, actually on the top, there's nothing left. We're just going to put a nice 1 when there's nothing left. Bottom, we got 4 cubed. We got x to the 6th. We got y to the 6th. And that's it. If you want to evaluate 4 cubed, you're welcome to, or you can leave it. Use your calculator for that, guys. Next one. Distribute the -2. We got 3 to the -2, z to the +10th. Okay, this 3 to the -2nd's got to go downtown. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it seems cool. We got z to the 10th over 3 squared. 3 squared is 9. So final answer, z to the 10th over 9er. All right. Those are fun. Let's see. Can we get into some more complicated ones? I think so. This one's actually pretty quick. Why? Because anything to the 0 is 1. Okay, so we also want to do fraction subtraction. 4 minus 2 is 2. The bigger exponent's on the bottom stays on the bottom. 4 minus 2 is 2. The x to the 0 is 1, so it's just 5 over y squared. Love it. All right. Looks fun, right? Okay, let's see. What do we got going here? How do we want to do this? All right, let's start just working on this first fraction. So I see right away that I have a y to the -4th. I got to bring it up. So I have 5, x to the 4th. Okay, so here I'm going to have y to the 4th. I'm multiplying my y's, so I need to add, multiply like bases, add your exponents. That's going to give me 2 plus 4, 6. I only have a 1 on the bottom because I have nothing left. I'm multiplying by y cubed over 25x to the 4th. Multiplication. Okay, multiply across the top and bottom. On top I get 5, x to the 4th. 6 plus 3 is y to the 9th over 25x to the 4th. We're not done. The x to the 4th actually cancel. Same thing on top of the same thing cancels out, and my 5 over 25 is going to reduce to 1/5. Final answer, 1. If you want to leave it there, you can. Y to the 9th over 5. I'm going to go to the next page because I don't want this video to be way too long for you guys. Let's go to the next page. I'm going to do the last row of problems, maybe just 1 or 2 of them, and then we'll be done. Because these ones are a little bit more fun. Let's look at number 7. Alrighty. 1 property at a time. This 2 goes to everything in those parentheses. That's 2 squared. X to the 6th, y to the 4th, all over y to the 5th. All right, we could go fraction subtraction. 5 minus 4 is 1. The bigger exponent's on the bottom. The y to the 1st stays on the bottom. 2 squared is 4. So I get 4x to the 6th over y. All right, let's work on the second thing. That negative 2 goes to both the top and bottom. Y to the negative 12th over x to the negative 4th. We don't like the negative exponent, so the top one needs to go down, bottom one needs to come up. We're just going to flip this baby around. We got x to the 4th on top now, and y to the 12th on the bottom. Not quite done, guys. Now we're just multiplying across the top, across the bottom. When we multiply like bases, we add our exponents. 4x to the 10th over 1 plus 12, y to the 13th. There you go. All right, I'm going to leave you guys here. I hope that this made a little bit more sense. Hopefully you guys have time to watch the video today, and if not, sometime tomorrow, sometime this weekend, we're going to look at the calendar in class tomorrow and readjust from the cold day. Enjoy your day off. Stay warm. See you tomorrow.